I've always believed that keeping the spark alive in a relationship is crucial. It's easy to fall into routines and lose sight of each other, but I knew I had to prevent losing interest, both hers and mine. My desire was for a loyal, loving partner who supported my dreams while I did the same for her. The ultimate goal was happiness together, lasting until the end. Yet a nagging fear crept in. What if she was only drawn to my ambitions? What if her affection depended on my successes rather than who I truly was? I often questioned whether our love was genuine or just a convenient arrangement. I longed for someone who celebrated me for me, not just my potential. Then one day, it hit me. I noticed her eyes sparkled more when I talked about my goals than when I shared my true self. It felt like I was merely a stepping stone in her journey, not the man she truly loved. This painful realization left me torn between clinging to a hollow relationship and pursuing my dreams. Seeking advice from friends only intensified my conflict. Some urged me to fight for our love, while others said to focus on my ambitions. I wondered if I could ever find someone who truly loved me for who I was. Ultimately, I realized I had to protect my heart and prioritize my growth. This decision would spark a series of events that would forever change my life. The moment I decided to break up with her was one of the hardest in my life. I sat across from her, my heart racing, knowing I had to confront the truth. As I spoke the words, I could see confusion and hurt wash over her face. It pained me to see her like that, but I couldn't ignore the reality any longer. "It's not you, it's me," I started, trying to soften the blow. But deep down, I knew it was more about us than it was about me. "I just feel like we're not on the same page anymore. You seem more interested in what I can achieve than who I am." Her eyes widened, a mix of disbelief and sadness. "What do you mean? I love you. Don't you see that?" she pleaded. But that was just it. I didn't feel it. I had longed for a partner who would appreciate the person I was at my core, not just the accomplishments I could achieve. It was painful to acknowledge that our relationship had become transactional, where my successes were celebrated more than my essence. In that moment, I felt the weight of regret and loss. I had invested so much time and energy into our relationship, hoping it would blossom into something beautiful. But it had wilted, leaving me heartbroken. As I left her that day, I was flooded with mixed emotions. I felt a strange sense of freedom, intertwined with sadness. I knew breaking up was the right choice, but it didn't make it any easier. I couldn't shake the fear that I might never find love like I had imagined. Would I always be chasing dreams while yearning for someone to stand by me for who I was? I wanted to believe that this was a necessary step toward finding my true self. Yet the pain lingered. I felt like I was standing at a crossroads, unsure of which path to take next. Would I be able to rebuild my life without the person I had once envisioned my future with? The thought was daunting, but I knew I had to embrace the uncertainty. This was my chance to rediscover who I was and what I wanted out of life. The journey ahead seemed long, but deep down, I felt a flicker of hope that perhaps something greater awaited me. In the days that followed the breakup, I found myself grappling with a whirlwind of emotions. I had made the choice to leave, but accepting that it was truly over felt like an uphill battle. I replayed our last conversation over and over, searching for signs I might have missed, wishing I could go back and change the outcome. Despite knowing it was the right decision, the ache in my chest refused to fade. I began to question whether I had made a mistake, Was I too harsh? Did I misinterpret her feelings? It was as if a shadow of doubt loomed over my thoughts, whispering that I might have been too quick to judge our relationship. I sought solace in conversations with friends, hoping they would help me find clarity. Some were supportive, urging me to focus on my future. You did what you had to do, they said, but others were less understanding. Are you sure you didn't throw away something good? Their words only added to my confusion, deepening my struggle to accept my choice. In moments of quiet, I reflected on what had led me to this point. I recalled the countless times I had felt like a mere trophy in her eyes, celebrated only for my ambitions. The realization stung, yet the memories still tugged at my heartstrings. I missed the good times, the laughter, the shared dreams, but I also recognized the cracks that had formed over time. Acceptance became a journey filled with contradictions. I had to remind myself that moving on didn't mean I had to forget. I clung to the hope that my decision would ultimately lead me to a healthier, more fulfilling relationship. But letting go of the past was proving to be more challenging than I had anticipated. As I navigated this internal struggle, I became increasingly aware of my own self-worth. I had spent so long prioritizing her needs that I had lost sight of my own. I knew I had to redefine my identity outside of our relationship. This meant not just accepting the breakup, but also embracing the possibility of new beginnings. I began to explore new hobbies and reignite passions that I had sidelined. I sought comfort in long runs and quiet evenings spent with a good book. Slowly, I started to feel a sense of liberation emerging from the shadows of heartache. It wasn't a straight path. Some days were harder than others, but each step forward felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Through this struggle, I learned that acceptance was not a destination, but a process. It was about acknowledging my pain while also allowing myself to hope for something better. I realized that my journey toward healing was just beginning, and in that realization lay a glimmer of optimism for what lay ahead. After the breakup, I found myself in a battle not just with my heart, but with my self-esteem. It was shocking how quickly my confidence plummeted. The relationship had been a significant part of my identity, and losing it felt like a loss of self. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had failed, not only as a partner, but as a person. Every day was a reminder of my perceived shortcomings. I wondered if I wasn't good enough for her, or if I had misread the signals all along. I replayed moments in my head, trying to figure out what I could have done differently. I felt like I was stuck in a cycle of self-doubt, constantly questioning my worth. Work became a refuge, yet it was also a reminder of my vulnerabilities. As I focused on building my law firm, I was surprised to find that my success in the professional realm didn't translate into personal fulfillment. I was achieving milestones, yet the thrill was muted by my emotional turmoil. I couldn't celebrate my wins without feeling that void inside. Friends noticed my struggle and offered their support, but their kind words felt hollow at times. "You're a great guy," they would say, but I couldn't internalize those affirmations. I often felt like a facade, smiling on the outside while crumbling within. I feared that no matter how much I accomplished, it would never fill the emptiness I felt from the breakup. Social gatherings became particularly daunting. Watching couples interact only highlighted my loneliness. I grappled with envy, wishing I could feel that connection again. It was hard not to compare myself to others, especially when it seemed like everyone else was thriving in their relationships. My fears grew. What if I was destined to be alone, forever haunted by the ghost of my past? In these moments of despair, I turned inward, determined to work on my self-esteem. I began seeking out therapy, wanting to understand my feelings and learn how to rebuild my confidence. Talking to a professional helped me recognize that my worth was not defined by my relationship status or my achievements. I started to explore self-acceptance, reminding myself that everyone goes through heartache and that it doesn't diminish my value. Through therapy, I began to confront the narrative I had created about myself. I learned to focus on my strengths and embrace my imperfections. Slowly, the weight of self-doubt began to lift. I understood that healing was a journey, and it was okay to take small steps toward reclaiming my self-worth. As I worked through these challenges, I started to see glimpses of the person I wanted to be. A man who could stand tall, proud of his journey, and ready to embrace whatever life had to offer. It wasn't about forgetting the past. It was about learning from it and allowing it to shape me into a better version of myself. As time went on, the emotional turmoil I faced grew increasingly complex. I had initially thought breaking up would bring me clarity, but it instead opened a floodgate of feelings I hadn't anticipated. The loneliness was palpable, wrapping around me like a heavy blanket that suffocated my spirit. I often found myself lost in thought, staring at the walls of my apartment, haunted by memories of what could have been. I was surprised at how much I missed her presence. The small things, a shared laugh over coffee, the way she'd lean in when telling a story, echoed in my mind. Some days, the longing was unbearable. I'd find myself reaching for my phone, fingers hovering over her number, torn between the desire to call and the realization that I had made the right choice. There were nights when I would lie awake, the silence amplifying my heartache. I wrestled with the images of her moving on, imagining her with someone else, and it felt like a dagger to my heart. The thought of her finding happiness without me was a bitter pill to swallow. I began to wonder if I would ever be able to love again, or if I was forever destined to feel this way. During these moments of emotional chaos, I found myself trapped in a cycle of grief. I would oscillate between anger, sadness, and regret. I felt angry at myself for allowing the relationship to reach that point, and frustrated with her for not seeing me for who I was. The internal conflict was exhausting, leaving me drained and disheartened. I tried to distract myself with work, throwing myself into building my law firm, but it was a temporary fix. The success I achieved felt hollow without someone to share it with. I realized I was using work as a way to escape, but the deeper issues remained unaddressed. Friends tried to cheer me up, suggesting outings and activities, but nothing seemed to lift the heaviness in my heart. I often found myself putting on a brave face, laughing and engaging, while inside I was crumbling. I felt like I was living a double life, desperately wanting to be happy, but weighed down by my emotional scars. In those darkest moments, I sought solace in music and writing. I found that expressing my pain through words provided a cathartic release. I poured my heart into journaling, capturing the raw emotions I experienced. Writing became my refuge, a way to process the heartbreak and begin to understand my feelings. Through this emotional turmoil, I learned that heartbreak isn't just about the loss of a relationship. It's about rediscovering oneself amid the chaos. It was in embracing my vulnerability that I started to heal. I realized that it was okay to feel pain, that it was part of the journey toward recovery. Slowly, I began to acknowledge my feelings without judgment, allowing myself to grieve what I had lost while also recognizing that this experience was shaping me into a stronger person. I knew that the path to healing wouldn't be linear, but I was finally ready to embrace the journey, heartache and all. In the wake of the emotional turmoil, I found myself at a crossroads, grappling with the decision of whether to stay in my current life or embrace the uncertainty of a new beginning. The more I reflected, the more I realized that my heart was pulling me in two opposing directions. On one hand, I was terrified of stepping into the unknown, while on the other, I knew I couldn't continue living in a state of discontent. The memories of my past relationship haunted me, both beautiful and painful. I thought of the laughter we shared, the dreams we built together, and the warmth of her presence. But alongside those memories were the feelings of inadequacy that had permeated my life. I began to question whether I could truly find happiness in my current environment, where I felt trapped in a cycle of self-doubt. I sought advice from my closest friends, hoping they would provide clarity. "You need to focus on yourself," one friend told me, but I wasn't sure how to prioritize my needs while feeling this intense sense of loss. Would staying mean I was giving up on myself, or would leaving mean I was turning my back on something that could still be salvaged? Each day was a battle between what my heart desired and what my mind told me was right. I would sit in silence, contemplating my options, feeling the weight of the decision bearing down on me. The fear of making the wrong choice loomed large. What if I walked away, only to regret it later? Yet what if staying meant continuing to live in a shadow of the past? I decided to take a step back and evaluate what I truly wanted. I began to visualize the life I aspired to create, one filled with genuine connections, unwavering support, and unconditional love. I realized that I needed someone who saw me for who I was, not just for what I could achieve. This realization was both liberating and terrifying. As I sat with my thoughts, I began to understand that this decision was about more than just my past relationship. It was about reclaiming my future. I started to formulate a plan for my life moving forward, one where I would prioritize my happiness and emotional well-being. The journey toward that future wouldn't be easy. I knew that breaking free from the cycle of self-doubt and regret required courage. I had to trust that I could rebuild my life on my own terms, embracing the uncertainty that lay ahead. The more I leaned into this idea, the more empowered I felt. Eventually, I came to terms with the fact that I had to choose myself. Staying in a relationship that no longer served me would only hold me back. I recognized that my worth was not tied to my past, but to my ability to grow and evolve. With that understanding, I made the decision to let go of what was holding me back and embrace the possibilities that awaited me. Choosing to leave was a profound moment of clarity, one that marked the beginning of my journey towards self-discovery. I felt a sense of relief wash over me, knowing that I was finally taking charge of my life. The decision was mine, and with it came the promise of a new chapter, one that I was ready to embrace with open arms. Once I made the decision to leave, I understood that I couldn't navigate this journey alone. The weight of my emotions felt too heavy to carry by myself, so I reached out to my closest friends and family for support. I had always been someone who valued independence, but this time I realized the importance of leaning on those who cared about me. I started with my best friend, who had been my confidant through thick and thin. Over coffee, I poured out my heart, sharing my struggles and fears. "I feel lost," I admitted, my voice cracking. "I thought breaking up would make things easier, but it's just left me feeling more alone than ever." He listened intently, nodding with understanding, offering reassurance that I was not alone in this. He reminded me that everyone experiences heartbreak and that it's a natural part of life. His support gave me the courage to reach out to others. I reconnected with family members I hadn't spoken to in a while. I opened up about my situation, and to my surprise, they embraced me with open arms. They shared their own stories of heartbreak and the lessons they had learned along the way. Hearing their experiences reminded me that I wasn't alone in my struggles. I felt a sense of comfort in knowing that we all face challenges and that these moments shape us. My friends rallied around me, encouraging me to get out and engage with life again. They invited me to social gatherings, hoping to lift my spirits. At first, I hesitated, feeling vulnerable and unsure, but I gradually found myself enjoying their company. I laughed and shared stories, feeling a sense of belonging that I desperately needed. Through these interactions, I began to realize the power of community. It was healing to be surrounded by people who genuinely cared about my well-being. They didn't pressure me to move on or act like everything was fine. Instead, they offered their support without judgment. This created a safe space for me to express my feelings, no matter how messy or complicated they were. As I leaned on my friends and family, I noticed a shift in my perspective. I started to understand that vulnerability isn't a weakness, it's a strength. Allowing others to see my struggles opened doors to deeper connections and meaningful conversations. I learned the value of sharing not just the good times, but also the tough moments. One evening, during a heartfelt conversation with my mother, I realized just how important it was to have a strong support system. She reminded me that it's okay to grieve the loss of my relationship, while also celebrating my personal growth. "You're not defined by this breakup," she said, her words resonating deeply within me. "You're defined by how you rise from it." With my support network growing stronger, I felt empowered to face my emotions head-on. I began to see the light at the end of the tunnel. The pain didn't disappear overnight, but it became manageable. I was grateful for the support that enveloped me, knowing that it was a crucial part of my healing process. Ultimately, seeking support was a turning point in my journey. I learned that asking for help doesn't signify weakness. It demonstrates courage and self-awareness. With my friends and family by my side, I began to regain my strength, ready to embrace the next chapter of my life with newfound resilience and hope. As I continued to lean on my friends and family, I felt a subtle shift within myself. With every shared laugh and heartfelt conversation, I started to reclaim my sense of identity. I realized that while the pain of the breakup was still present, it no longer defined who I was or dictated my future. I began to see that healing wasn't a linear process. It was more like climbing a mountain, with both steep climbs and gentle plateaus. I took some time to reflect on what I truly wanted in my life. I began journaling again, documenting my thoughts and emotions. Writing became an outlet for me, a way to process my feelings and gain clarity. With each word, I peeled back the layers of my heartache, allowing myself to confront the hurt head-on. It was both cathartic and enlightening. I also made a conscious effort to focus on self-care. I started exercising regularly, which helped alleviate some of the emotional weight I was carrying. Each run became a form of meditation, a way to release pent-up energy and gain a sense of accomplishment. I felt stronger physically, which mirrored the emotional strength I was beginning to cultivate. Additionally, I explored new hobbies that ignited my passion. I enrolled in a cooking class, something I had always wanted to try but never had the time for. As I chopped vegetables and learned new recipes, I found joy in the process. It was refreshing to immerse myself in something completely different, allowing my mind to wander away from my past and focus on the present. Surrounding myself with positivity became a priority. I sought out inspiring podcasts and books that emphasized personal growth and resilience. The stories of others who had faced adversity and emerged stronger fueled my determination to overcome my own challenges. I learned that healing is not just about moving on. It's about embracing change and finding the strength to grow from it. As I invested in my own well-being, I started to notice a change in my mindset. I shifted from viewing my breakup as a failure to seeing it as a necessary step in my journey. The experience, while painful, had forced me to confront my own needs and desires. I understood that true strength lies in vulnerability, and by embracing my emotions, I was opening myself up to new possibilities. With every passing day, I felt more equipped to face whatever came next. I recognized that my past relationship taught me invaluable lessons about love, ambition, and the importance of authenticity. I no longer feared the idea of love. Instead, I welcomed it with open arms, knowing that I was now more prepared for a relationship built on mutual respect and understanding. As I continued on this path of healing, I became more in tune with my own desires. I realized that I wanted a partner who appreciated me for who I was, not just for my achievements or aspirations. I yearned for a connection that was grounded in genuine affection and support, a love that would encourage both of us to grow individually and together. Finding strength became a transformative experience, one that allowed me to break free from the chains of my past. I learned to embrace uncertainty, understanding that it's often in the unknown where we find the greatest opportunities for growth. With newfound clarity and determination, I was ready to step forward, open to the possibilities that awaited me on my journey. As I continued my journey of healing, I found myself in a place of newfound openness. I wasn't actively searching for love, but I was ready to embrace whatever life had in store for me. One evening, at a friend's gathering, I met Emma. There was an instant connection, a spark that felt refreshing and genuine. Emma was warm, kind, and effortlessly engaging. Our conversations flowed easily, and I found myself drawn to her sincerity. Unlike my previous relationship, where ambition overshadowed personal connection, Emma was genuinely interested in who I was. She asked questions about my passions and listened intently as I spoke about my dreams. I felt seen and appreciated for the first time in a long while. Despite the chemistry, I was cautious. My past experiences had left me wary of vulnerability. I knew I had to take my time and rebuild my trust in relationships. Emma understood my hesitance and never pressured me. Instead, she patiently allowed our connection to grow naturally, providing a safe space for me to open up. We spent more time together, exploring the city, trying new restaurants, and sharing our hopes and fears. Each encounter reinforced my belief that not all relationships had to be fraught with complications. Emma's unwavering support and genuine kindness began to chip away at the walls I had built around my heart. With time, I slowly opened up about my past. I shared my struggles, fears, and the lessons I had learned from my previous relationship. Emma listened without judgment, validating my feelings and encouraging my growth. Her empathy helped me realize that healing didn't mean forgetting. It meant embracing my journey while allowing someone new to enter my life. As we continued to grow closer, I found myself falling for her. It felt different this time, There was no pressure, no expectations, just two people enjoying each other's company. I learned to appreciate the beauty of a relationship rooted in mutual respect and understanding. I also began to understand that trust is built through consistent actions and open communication. Emma never pushed me to move faster than I was comfortable with. Instead, she celebrated each small step forward, creating a foundation of trust that I hadn't experienced before. Through this journey, I learned that true love isn't about perfection. It's about accepting each other's flaws and growing together. I began to feel a sense of safety with Emma that I hadn't known in a long time. I knew I was ready to embrace this new chapter of my life. Meeting someone new didn't erase the past, but it allowed me to see that love could be different. It could be supportive, nurturing, and filled with genuine affection. With Emma by my side, I felt empowered to fully engage in the present, ready to explore the possibilities of a future built on trust and shared dreams. As my relationship with Emma deepened, I found myself embracing a happiness I hadn't felt in years. We built a foundation of trust that allowed us to be vulnerable with each other. I learned to let go of the past, recognizing that it shaped me but didn't define my future. Emma and I enjoyed simple moments together, cooking dinner, taking long walks, and sharing our dreams. Each experience reinforced the bond we were creating. I appreciated her genuine interest in my life, and it felt refreshing to be with someone who valued me for who I was, not just my ambitions. One evening, as we watched the sunset, I realized how far I had come. I had transitioned from heartbreak to hope. The love I felt for Emma was different. It was grounded in mutual respect and understanding. I began to dream again, not just about my career, but about a future filled with love and partnership. With Emma, I could be myself without fear of judgment. She encouraged me to pursue my passions and supported my ambitions. I felt a sense of balance in our relationship. She was my partner, not just a companion. This new love taught me that happiness comes from within and flourishes in supportive relationships. Emma's presence reminded me that true love doesn't just happen. It's nurtured through kindness, respect, and shared dreams. As I embraced this new chapter, I realized that life's challenges had prepared me for this moment. I was ready to love fully and embrace the joy that came with it. With Emma by my side, I felt hopeful about the future, a future where love and happiness could thrive. Looking back, I realized how far I had come since the heartbreak that once defined me. My journey of self-discovery, healing, and love had transformed me into a person who was ready to embrace new beginnings. With Emma, I found not just a partner, but a confidant and friend. We decided to take a trip together to celebrate our love. As we explored beautiful destinations, I felt a sense of freedom and joy I had never experienced before. Each moment spent together reinforced the bond we had created, making me appreciate life's simple pleasures. Returning home, I knew that I wanted to take the next step in our relationship. One evening, under a starlit sky, I shared my feelings with Emma. I expressed my desire to build a life together, to create a future filled with love, laughter, and shared dreams. Her eyes sparkled with joy, and in that moment, I knew we were on the same path. We began discussing our future, planning adventures, and supporting each other's aspirations. Emma inspired me to push beyond my limits, reminding me that life is about more than just success. It's about the connections we build and the love we share. I felt empowered to pursue my career goals while nurturing our relationship. This journey taught me that true love transcends material wealth. I realized that my worth wasn't defined by my bank account, but by my kindness, empathy, and the love I offered to others. Emma's unwavering support reaffirmed this belief, reminding me daily that I was deserving of happiness. With newfound confidence, I decided to expand my law firm, knowing I had the emotional foundation to take risks. I embraced opportunities that came my way, knowing I had someone who believed in me wholeheartedly. Together, we celebrated both personal and professional victories, creating a life that reflected our shared values. As we stood hand in hand, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, I understood that this was just the beginning. Life would continue to present obstacles, but with Emma by my side, I felt equipped to navigate them. Together, we would create a life rich in love, support, and happiness. In this journey, I learned that love is a powerful force, one that heals, inspires, and drives us forward. I had transformed my heartbreak into hope, and in doing so, I found a love that was deeper and more fulfilling than I had ever imagined. My story, once marked by loss, had evolved into one of resilience and new beginnings.